Having perhaps unwisely started with the granulation on the right, I'm going to move over to the left hand side of the image and I'll try and paint with a fairly watery solution of yellow ochre, cadmium yellow and a little bit of cerulean blue. There's a lot of grass here that is growing on what looks like sandy surface, and that is very light, very ochreish in colour, but still has perhaps some characteristics of granulation. There are little paths going up this hillside that I try to represent by leaving out. So there's a chunk missing out of the cliff face there that I'll leave out. Difficult area there to describe what that is. So part of the effect of granulation is achieved with a little too much water in the mix, or a little too much water on the page rather, and that's what this is doing, really, just recharging areas that have got paint on. You can drop colour in and increase the wetness. So there's a sort of ladder, staircase going up there, so I'm going to leave out. So I just drop a little bit more colour into that. On wet, that should help it to granulate. So I'm going to dissolve that just with water. The colour seems to merge or change. More of these steps. Recharging the brush frequently, picking up colour. Some little patches like there of slightly greener colour. I suppose there is quite a lot of leaving out involved in this. Touch some colour into that. It's an area of rock. And this is very much more towards yellow ochre on here. So these are areas of light. Try and use leaving out. gone over there a bit. Yellow ochre won't granulate quite as well because it's the ultramarine that mainly creates this effect. And there could be a shadow of ultramarine on top of this, which would work. So I suppose this is brush control, looking at handling the brush. Yeah, so that gives something of the pattern of the rock in the landscape, and that's requires quite a bit of concentration to follow that. This part to the right of this area, between these two areas, is partly in shadow, and I'm going to use the slightly darker colour with more water that's got a lot of ultramarine in it, and use the smaller brush to define the edge better. There are light areas here though that just leave out. So this might granulate, can see that there's a fragmentation of the rock here. And I'm really just trying to get an impression of that. So that has, or will, granulate in parts, the ochre less successfully, and I'm going to have a look at painting the beach next, but I would need to revisit and test colours before that to make sure I can get colours that will separate or granulate in that part.